Installing Arch Linux. A lot of people fear it, but to be honest, the Arch Linux install is not that hard. Today I'm going to run through an Arch Linux install inside a virtual machine. Let's take a look. So today I'm going to do an Arch Linux install inside a VM. And the reason I'm going to do it inside a VM is because it's a lot easier to record an install of something like Arch Linux inside a virtual machine than it is on physical hardware. I actually installed Arch Linux on physical hardware last night. I spent about 3 or 4 hours installing Arch Linux on my main production machine. The install process, the base install process, doesn't take that long, but I had to set up a couple of window managers and get all my programs moved over, all my backups restored and everything. So it was kind of a lengthy process. I was up till almost 3 in the morning last night getting Arch Linux up and working as I want it to work here on my main production machine. And I know you guys were really going to want to see that install process, but you can't really record that install process when you're running things off a live USB stick during the install process. Also, it's not a graphical environment. Everything's done in the command line, in the shell. So you know what? I thought, well, I'll go through the actual install on my physical machine. You guys won't get to see it, but I thought today I'd take some time and do a second install, this time inside a virtual machine, and actually record the process. And by the way, this is my desktop as it looks right now. This is Qtile, the Qtile tiling window manager running on Arch Linux. I also installed Xmonad, the Xmonad tiling window manager. And I spent some time configuring both of those tiling window managers because for the next 30 days, I'm only going to live in tiling window managers, and I'm going to try to use only terminal-based applications where possible. And that's the reason I went ahead and installed Arch Linux on this machine, is because it's a very minimal distro. Out of the box, no GUI, no graphical environment of any kind. Basically, when you're done with the Arch Linux install, you come to a command prompt. And that's really when you get started installing, your login manager, your desktop environment, window manager, file manager, all of that stuff. So today I'm going to be installing Arch inside a VM. I've actually already downloaded the ISO. The ISO is only about 500 megs, and I'm installing this inside VirtualBox. Now, when you first boot up the ISO and you go ahead and load into Arch Linux, this is Arch Linux, the live environment. Basically, it's a command prompt. You're already logged in as root. What do you do now? Where do you get started? Well, the first thing you need to do is you actually need to, if you have a second machine or a tablet or a cell phone, you need to go to the Arch Wiki. Let me see. I had the Arch Wiki up here. All right, here. The installation guide for the Arch Wiki. I had to back page a few times because I actually had to look up something in the Arch Wiki. As I made this video, VirtualBox wasn't working correctly, so I actually needed to go to the Arch Wiki VirtualBox page to figure out, why certain kernel modules weren't working in VirtualBox. But anyway, the Arch Wiki installation guide. And this is not a very long installation guide. When people talk about Arch Linux, the install being hard, there really isn't much to this install. Yes, it's all in the command line. You have to enter a few commands, but this will not be difficult, guys. So, first things first. Pre-installation. Download and boot the installation medium. We're already there. But for you guys doing this on physical hardware, what you need to do, download the ISO, create a bootable USB stick, and plug it into whatever device or computer, laptop you're about to install Arch Linux on, reboot. That's basically what I've done here. This VM is the same thing. All right. Set the keyboard layout. Now, by default, the default key map in Arch Linux is US. So I don't actually have to change the key mappings, but you guys that do, there is a command here to change the keyboard layout. I'm good on that. And you guys that are doing US keyboards, you're good on that. So we can actually skip some of this. Verify the boot mode. I'm not going to use UEFI on my main machine. so I didn't fool with this. I'm definitely not going to use UEFI in the virtual machine either, so again, I don't have to worry about this. Connect to the internet. Okay, now this one we do need to actually test. So it suggests pinging Google. Or actually it suggested pinging archlinux.org. I'm just going to ping Google. Just a few times. Control-C to quit the ping. So, internet is working, so we're good on this. Okay, so let's get back to the Arch Wiki, reading a little more. Looks like the next thing we need to do is update the system clock. So let me get back to my virtual machine. I'm going to go ahead and, you guys won't see this because I'm only recording one of my 3 monitors here. But I'm going to put the Arch Wiki on one monitor over here. I've got my virtual machine right here. That way I can read the Arch Wiki and do all the commands in my second monitor. And the third monitor is OBS recording the stream here. So, quickly, what the Arch Wiki was having me do is update the system clock by running this command. Time date ctl space set-ntp space true. And that's it. That's all you have to do. So, basically, copy and paste for the most part. Well, in this case, I actually have to physically type it. I can't copy from my host machine to the virtual machine. I don't have that set up properly. To test to make sure that time date ctl command works, time date ctl space status. And yeah, it returns the time, UTC time. Alright, now we need to partition our disks. Let's see. So we just did the update system clock. Partition the disks is next. They recommend doing this with Fdisk. I really don't know too much about Fdisk. I've always used CFdisk for the most part, where I can get by with it. So CFdisk is the program I'm going to open up. I've already created a drive on this virtual machine, a 15 gig hard drive on this virtual machine. And I'm just going to create one big 15 gig partition. I'm not going to create a swap. I'm definitely not going to create like a separate home partition or anything. Not in a virtual machine because it's wasted space. Space is kind of a premium on these virtual machines. I don't have a lot of hard disk space, so I don't want to create like gigantic VMs. But anyway, you need to create a new partition of some kind. I created a DOS. Let's see, bootable. I've already made it bootable. Type, it's already chosen the type, Linux, of course. And then write. Ask you to confirm it by typing the full word yes. It writes the partition table. Quit. And that's really all I needed to do. If you needed to create a swap, create a swap. Pretty easy stuff so far, right? We need to make a file system. Right? So, let's see. To make a file system, make fs, mkfs for make file system. And I'm going to do an extended 4 file system because it's stable. I like extended 4. So make file system dot extended 4 /dev /sda 1. And it's got to be /dev /sda 1 because I only created the one partition. So it's not hard to choose. All right. Back to the Arch Wiki. Still reading here. Of course, that was that command I just entered, making the file system. If you wanted to create a swap, it tells you how to make the swap. Alright, now we need to mount the file system. Mount /dev /sda1 /mount. Okay. So mount /dev /sda1 space /mnt. Alright, so that mounted the file system for us. Alright. And that's all we needed to do there. Alright, select the mirrors. Packages must be installed, must be downloaded from mirror servers /etc pacman.d mirror list. Alright. Do I really need to play around with the mirror list? I'm not sure. So I'm going to use nano to open the /etc pacman.d base/mirror list. And see what mirrors they have. Alright, it looks like they have every single mirror in this list uncommented, which means we're connected to every single mirror from all around the world. We actually don't need that. I need to go through here and pick like the fastest ones or the closest ones. I need to basically delete all these mirrors that are not in the US. There's no point in me having all of these. For purposes of this installation though, I don't think I'm going to do that because it would take a little time. But basically Control K, I think, is the nano command to cut, lines out. So I would just delete most of this stuff till I get to ones I want to keep, like United States right there. I want to keep that one. And then I'm going to go down to the next one in Bulgaria, start cutting all of that. And I would keep the next two that are in the United States. Let me get back to the top of the page. I accidentally went to the bottom of the page. All right. And Qatar and Russia and France need to go away. Back to United States. I'll keep those. South Korea. Another US server. And once you have 5 or 6 of these mirrors, and I've got, 7 or 8 now, I could probably just go ahead and delete the rest of this file and just go with what I've got here. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to Control K all the way to the bottom of the list now. So I've got a few mirrors set. And I can always come back and add mirrors, delete mirrors. Things start acting slow for me. Some of these mirrors are acting slow. You can always refresh the mirror list. You can go out and get a new mirror list from the Arch Linux website. Control X to exit out of Nano. It's going to ask, do we want to save this file? Yes. All right, so that successfully updated our mirror list. And the next command is a very important command to run. Pacstrap /MNT for mount /MNT base. So pacstrap /MNT base. What is this going to do? It's going to install the base system. This may take a little while, so I'm actually going to stop the recording because it's going to install quite a bit of stuff. This is all the base utilities. Okay, the base system has finished installing. If I go back to the Arch Linux install wiki page, we need to do a fs tab, file system tab. I generate an fs tab file, and basically I need to type that command. So, go back over here. Let's see. I'm trying to arrange my monitors where I can do all this. Gen fs tab space dash capital U space /MNT space. Then 2 chevrons, 2 greater than signs, space /MNT /etc/fs tab. Alright, so we've run that command. That generates our fs tab. Now we need to change root into the new system. We need to chroot into our newly installed Arch Linux. So arch-chroot space /MNT. Basically, we're no longer on that live installation. Now, that partition we created that we installed all the Arch base packages, we're in that now. So, select time zone. Now, to select time zone, you need to do this convoluted command here. I'm going to show you here, so I better show you guys this one. So, this command here, basically, ln-sf/user/share/zoneinfo/region, which will be not region, but the actual region you're in, /city, the actual city you're in, /etc/local time. Kind of a crazy command. So let me get back into this. Try to make this a little bigger for you guys too. Alright, hopefully you guys can see some of what's going on in the terminal. I know the font's a little small. I should have fixed this to where we could read it a little more, but that crazy command I need to type to set the time zone, ln space -sf space /user /share /zone info /region, which for me, America, /city, which I'm going to do Chicago, because it's in the central time zone, space, and then /etc/local time. This should set our local time to, for me, America /Chicago. To check it out, let's see. HW clock space /SYSTOHC. The next command we need to run. Alright, locale. The next thing we need to do is set the locale. Alright, so the locale, it says uncomment English US UTF and other needed localizations in the /etc/locale.gen file. And then generate them with the following command, locale-gen. Alright, so what this is saying to do, let me get back into the virtual machine. There is a file on our system, and I'm going to open it with Nano, the Nano text editor, nano/etc/locale.gen. And in this, we have all our locales, all the possible locales. They're all commented out. We need to uncomment at least one of them, if not more than one. And the one I need to uncomment is this one right here, English US UTF-8. Just delete that hashtag in front of it. So now it's no longer commented out. Control X to save this. Y to write that file. And then it told me to run the following command, locale-gen. And it's generating the English US locale. Generation complete. Alright. So, again, we're just going step by step down the Arch Wiki. This is not hard. This is not difficult. You do need to know your way around the terminal a little bit, but you don't have to be a master in the shell. It would help if you knew how to use the Nano text editor, but the Nano text editor is not difficult to use either. Set the keyboard layout. If I need to set the keyboard layout, I would need to do this basically the same thing I just did with locale, except now /etc/vconsole.conf. That file, I would need to edit it. But by default, our key map in Arch is US. I'm good with that. So I actually don't need to do this one. We do need to create the hostname file, which is at /etc/hostname. Okay, so /etc/hostname. So how about nano /etc/hostname? It's an empty file. I'm just going to create something. How about DT as my hostname? The hostname for this computer. So Control X to write that. I think that's all I needed to do there. And the next thing it's telling us in the wiki is /etc/hosts. Localhost. We need to set localhost to 127.0.0.1, of course. And then our hostname that I actually created, the DT hostname, I need to set to 127.0.1.1. Okay, so how about nano /etc/hosts? And I'm just going to copy exactly what it had on the page. 127.0.0.1. Tab over, write the word localhost. Then ::1, tab over, localhost again. And 127.0.0.1. actually 127.0.1.1. Space over, and then my host name that I created, dt dot local domain. Tab over, and dt again. That's it. Control X, Y. Yeah, I think that's all I needed to do there. Okay, moving along, we're actually at the bottom of the Arch Linux install guide here. We're getting to the end of it. Network configuration. The newly installed environment has no network connection activated by default. For wireless, I'm not doing Wi-Fi, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm doing a wired connection. It says we don't have a wired connection, but I have cherooted into the install. Let's ping Google again. Well, no, I'm getting Google when I do a ping, so I'm not sure if I really need to do any kind of network configuring or not. Just going to leave that for now. I can come back to it if for some reason I don't have internet at the end of this. initram fs, create a new initram fs is usually not required. Okay, so I can actually skip this next section. Root password. Now that one I can't skip. I need to actually set a root password with the command passwd, password, passwd. New password. So we need to create a password for root. Password updated successfully. The only other thing I absolutely need to do before we reboot our newly installed Arch Linux is Bootloader. And let's see, category bootloaders. Of course, I want to do grub. Let's see. Reading their install page about grub. Of course, we need to install grub. So, pacman dash capital S grub. Should install the grub 2 bootloader. Yep, grub 2.02. Alright, and then to actually install grub dash install /dev/sda. Installation finished. No error reported. Let's reboot this machine and see how it goes. So, reboot. Now, it's because we're still in chroot. We need to exit out of the chroot. Get out of that. Now, reboot. I've still got the ISO mounted. I need to unmount the ISO. So, close this VM here. Power off. Alright. And you guys doing a physical install won't need to do this, but in this VM, I need to detach the ISO. You guys running physical hardware, what you would have to do is unplug the USB stick when you reboot. And now, this should give us our Arch Linux install. Let me resize this to... Alright. Failed to boot both the default and fallback entries. Loading Linux core repo kernel. Error. No such partition. So there was a problem with our partitioning. I need to attach the ISO again. That sucks. Alright. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and attach the ISO again. So I'm going to have to chroot again. You guys, if you had run into this problem, you would just simply put the live USB stick back in the machine and then start it again. And we're going to boot back into the live environment here. I don't need to go through the install, do all the partitioning, run that packstrap command to install the base system. All that straight. I think that error was simply a grub error. So what I need to do is, let's see, let me pull up the Arch Wiki here. Give me just a second, guys. Let's see if I remember what the chroot command here is? Well, first we need to mount. So mount /dev/sda1 /mnt. All right, so we got that mounted. Then we need to arch-chroot. Let's see, /mnt. All right, so this gets us back to where we were before. I installed grub. Grub, though, I don't think I should have run this command, grub-mkconfig. Grub-make config. We need to make a config file. Space -o space /boot /grub/grub.cfg, grub.config. So grub needs a config file. We need to generate that file. I should have done that before. I didn't. Now exit back out of this chroot and sudo shutdown now just to kill the VM. And if I was correct and that was the problem, then now I can detach the ISO. You guys would just take the USB stick out of the machine if you were doing this on physical hardware. Now when I reboot, let's see what happens. That's it. This is our newly installed Arch Linux. That wasn't so bad, was it? Now back to the installation guide. This installation guide, I mean, it's one page. You only have to scroll down, maybe 2 times. It is not a very long installation guide. Some of the more confusing parts would be if you had to configure your network wireless connection, in particular if you were doing Wi-Fi. I didn't have to fool with that because I'm not doing this on a laptop. I did this in a VM on a desktop computer. And even my physical Arch install I did last night was on my desktop. It's a wired connection. I don't do wireless. So the other confusing parts, you saw I had problems with grub. That was my fault. I should have actually read the grub Arch Wiki page a little closer. But again, there's a grub Arch Wiki page. You have a problem with your bootloader, check out the grub Arch Wiki page. Basically anything you have a problem with in Arch has a wiki page. And this is where Arch differs from a lot of other distros in that they expect you to read the wiki page and to do all this yourself. There's not a lot of easy help tools, graphical tools. They expect you basically to be able to, from a terminal or from the shell, fix your problems, or at least put in an effort to fix your problems. If you need help and you need to go to the IRC forum or chat channel or the Arch Wiki forums, the Arch Linux forums, they expect you to at least have made some kind of effort. You need to tell them, hey, I looked at this page, I tried to run these commands, here's the output I'm getting in the terminal when I run these commands, what am I doing wrong? If you have put no effort in at all and you go to the Arch Linux forums and say, hey, my Wi-Fi is not working, why is that? What do I need to do? They're going to tell you basically to go read the Arch Wiki. So they expect you to at least put in some effort. Now, just to make sure my Arch Linux install here is working correctly, again, we have installed no graphical programs or anything. This is what you get after an Arch Linux install. You get a command prompt. So we're going to log in. We've only had one user here, root, right? I haven't made a user, so we're still root. And I'm going to ping google.com just to see if we have internet. And we don't. So remember I told you when we were reading the installation guide, the network configuration part, it says the newly installed environment has no network connection activated by default. But I was still able to ping when I was going through the install, google.com. So I thought, well, maybe network is running. No, it's not. We do need to configure the network a little bit. So let me show you how to do that, at least for you guys doing a wired connection. So first of all, I'm going to run the command IP space ADDR address space show. And ENP0S3 is my Ethernet connection. So I'm going to run the command DHC PCD and then space ENP 0 S3. Again, my Ethernet connection. And we run that. All right. And let's see if I can actually ping google.com now. Yeah. That's it. We have internet. Control C to quit the ping. Now, where do you go from here? And this is where I'm not going to do much more with the installation because this is where everybody's going to be different. We haven't installed anything. Do I want a graphical environment or not? I mean, I guess you could use Arch as a server. I personally wouldn't use a rolling release distro as a server. But if you didn't want to install a graphical environment, you don't have to. Even if you are going to install a graphical environment, what login manager do you want to install? What desktop environment do you want to install if you're going to install a desktop environment? Window managers. There's 100 of them to choose from. Various graphical programs. What audio player and video player? Do you want to use the NVIDIA drivers, the proprietary drivers, or do you want to use the open source Nouveau drivers? You know, all of that you have to do from the command line initially. And what I install is not going to be what you install. So basically, if you have any trouble, the Arch Wiki. But I'm assuming most of you are going to want to do some kind of graphical environment. So let me clear the screen here. So sudo pacman. And let me sync the repos. sy. And I'll run an update too. I didn't need to run sudo because sudo's not installed. Plus, we're already root. Sudo would only need to be invoked if I had a home user created, which I haven't created a home user yet. I should do that though. And we're letting the repos sync here. Creating the user is a tricky part for some people because you need to make sure your home user belongs to a few different groups. The most important one being the wheel group, but we also need to make sure he belongs to the audio group, the video group. In my case, because I use VirtualBox all the time, I need to make sure he belongs to the VBox users group. The sudo group, you don't have to worry about in Arch because the wheel group takes care of that. But in other Linux distributions, if you were using sudo, like in Ubuntu, your home user needs to be a member of the sudo group. Not in Arch. You don't have to worry about that in Arch. The wheel group is just fine for sudo. Okay. So we need to create a home user. User add is the command we need to do. User add, let's see. -m-s for shell. We want our default shell to be bash for this user. I'm going to create Derek, my name. Alright, so we added Derek, but he's not a member of any groups yet. So, yeah, he's just a member of the Derek group. So we need to add him to a group. We also need to set a password for Derek. passwd Derek. Give Derek a password. Passwords do not match. Let me redo that. Password updated successfully. Let's see, we need to add him to some groups. User add -m. Let's see if this works. -g. The default group he's already in is Derek. Yeah. Let's see. Can we add him to the wheel group? No. I think I need to do capital G here. What is the command I am looking for here? And again, we're reading the Arch Wiki. Here, I'll let you guys follow along with me. All right, here, user mod AG. Okay, I knew that. Sometimes you have to read these things, though. Remind yourself. It's not that often, actually, you create users and groups in the terminal, at least not for me. Not in my day-to-day life. We need to make Derek a member of the wheel group. That's the most important one. Audio, video, storage, optical. Well, we'll just leave it at that. And then the username of the user that we're doing this for. So Derek. Group doesn't exist. What group? Let me just do one at a time. How about just add him to the wheel group? Okay, that worked. So, can I add him to the audio group? Yep. Video. Okay, so all those work. Groups. Derek. Yeah, he's a member of the wheel group, audio group, video group, and the Derek group. All right, so now we have basically a home user now. I have some user other than root to use. Sudo. Let me go ahead and pacman-s and sudo. That way, I can add this user to the sudoers file and let this Derek user basically have root permission when he needs it. To add him to the sudoers group. Let's see. You know what? I could look it up in the wiki, but I'm pretty sure it's let's see, cd/etc/sudoers. No. So cd/etc. Let's see. I can figure it out. Yes, there's a file called /etc/sudoers. So nano/etc/sudoers. It's a text file here. And somewhere in this text file, of course, root is uncommented. Root can do all equals all. Root can do anything it wants to do. But you know what? Anybody that is a member of the wheel group should be able to do that as well. So I uncomment that line. Now remember, my Derek user was a member of the wheel group. So now, Control X to save, Y to save. Now when I exit out of the root user, log in as Derek. Exit. Log in as Derek. Now he should have sudo privileges. Sudo pacman-syu, for example. Alright, so now I've created a user. We've added him to some groups. I added him to wheel, audio, video. He probably needs to be added to optical storage, CD-ROM. I use VirtualBox. He needs to be added to the VBox users group. Maybe a few others. But what I've got right now is good enough. We need to do a graphical environment of some kind. So sudo pacman-s. We need to install Xorg. And the Xorg, is it the Xorg utils? And I'm just going to install all of it. There's 51 packages here. Yeah, we want them all. Xorg utils was not correct. Let's just do Xorg by itself. 51 packages. Alright. Do we want to install... There are two providers for libgl. I'm just going to go with the first one. I'm going to run this. This may take a while. It's quite a lot. But this is going to get us Xorg, the X server. So we can have a graphical environment. Without the X server, we're stuck in the shell, basically. So this gets us the X display server. Once we have that up, we need to install some kind of desktop environment or window manager. It would help to also install some kind of login manager, like DM would make sense. Basically, and that's it. That's where I'm going to stop today. Because here is where our paths really start diverging. Everybody's going to go in a different direction at this point. I pretty much did the base install. We have a root user already. I created a home user. I think everybody's going to want that. And I think most of you are going to want to at least install the X server to get a graphical environment of some kind. But I'm not going to go through the trouble of actually installing, like GNOME or KDE or XFCE, because what I choose to install is not going to be what you guys choose to install. You guys need to decide on desktop environment or window manager of your choice and read the Arch Wiki on how to get that thing installed, how to configure it properly. If you guys want a login manager, I strongly recommend LightDM. It's pretty easy to configure and set up LightDM. Again, there's an Arch Linux wiki page for that. And so this is the second time I've installed Arch Linux in, I don't know, the last 16 hours or so. Again, I was up late last night installing Arch Linux on my main machine, and I actually went through the full install. I installed LightVM for Login Manager and Xmonad and Qtile, pulled down all my config files for that, installed all the stuff I needed to do for this channel, like OBS, I'm recording right now, all the multimedia stuff, my NVIDIA drivers that I needed, Pulse Audio. Speaking of which, Pulse Audio, you might want to read the Arch Linux wiki page on that for Pulse Audio. So this has been interesting. I actually hadn't done a mainline Arch install in a while. It's been, I don't know, a couple of years. I've installed Arch plenty of times before, though. I've probably done a dozen of them before. So it's pretty straightforward. The Arch Linux install is not bad. Again, you just read the wiki. Just read that installation guide, and you're good to go. If you have any problems, you can get help on the Arch Linux forums. Just come at it in a civil way and make sure you've done at least put in some effort, to try to solve your problem before you just go and ask somebody to spoon feed you the solutions. Before I go, I would like to do a special thanks to all my patrons: Ron, Brian, Carl, Greg, Carlos, Rob, Mark, Christian, Benjamin, Steven, Arnos, Marcus, Kevin, Bob, and Darkwin. You guys rock. You guys help support the channel. And peace, guys.